Welcome to this episode of Future of Retail, the AI-powered seller. Today I'm joined by industry leaders as well as a technology leader, Mr. Manoj Sondinia from DBS Bank, Mr. Prashant Nair from Crompton Greaves, and Abhijit Paul from Sharpsell.ai. We're going to discuss how AI is transforming the sales enablement and seller transformation process. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, there's an interesting anecdote when it comes to, sales enablement that in India, automation doesn't work completely. In most cases, enablement is the way to go. And that's because the first thing a customer wants to do is find somebody to yell at, right? When you look at talent acquisition and then talent management, which are completely two different sides of the puzzle, how are you using technology to kind of integrate these two processes together?
We look at talent acquisition and management as two sides of the same coin. We don't look at it differently. To begin with, it all starts with the whole workforce planning, where our systems will give us a lot of data on what skills do we need, what kind of workforce we need to onboard. We augment that data with our internal workforce, who then help us drive the engine of talent management. It could be through mobility, it could be through our high potential program, or it could be through a host of career development avenues. The way we look at technology is it's an interplay. We ensure that every piece of the puzzle in an employee life cycle speaks to one central data, which gives that N is equal to 1 experience to the employee. And that's what centrally fuels the talent acquisition engine to hire talent to the market, to buy, and subsequently build through talent management. That's how we use data and technology together.
It's very interesting, and when you look at your feet on the street, your sales force, so to say, and their interactions with the customer, how do you see the landscape changing in that area in terms of the digitization of the customer? How do you think the sales force needs to be enabled today?
Absolutely. Today, the customer for sure knows 1% more than the salesperson who's trying to make the pitch.
Right.
We all have Google in our pockets. I go there first to even verify what someone is trying to sell and why are they even trying to sell. Having said that, the opportunity that we have with technology is walk into the customer's shoes, understand what their requirements are. Today, the best part that's happening in the banking sector is there are a host of products that most banks have. There is tough competition in the market. If the products are almost same or similar, the avenues to and the margins to generate profits are sleek. It is that N is equal to 1 customer experience that you want to create. What will aid the salespeople on the field is 1, real-time updates about a host of products, changes that are periodically driven from the regulator, and integrating that to knowing the demographics of the customer. A blend of A, B, and C together will help the sales personnel on the street help curate a solution knowing the customer in front of them.
Fantastic. Coming to you, Prashant, as you know, there are a lot more expansion of, the distribution networks across brands, right? Reaching deeper into the pockets of the country. How do you see your sales organization growing in the next couple of years? And what are the challenges that you foresee in reaching the last mile of the organization, building that institutional memory, and the entire sales learning investment in sales learning and enablement?
Thank you. I would actually start by saying, what does a salesperson require?
Yeah.
Okay. And in our context, the customers, the good part in India is that aspiration is growing. Yeah. Be it in urban, be it in rural, be it in urban, or whatever you want to call it. the aspiration is growing, and there is a demand for products that was, say, maybe 10 years back considered a luxury, today has become a need. So it's very important to reach to that customer, and that customer can be anywhere. So our sales engine, be it a combination of people and technology, need to make sure that we reach there. There are different channels to reach there. One is the typical general trade, one is the e-commerce, one is the MOR, one is through the government, through large integrators, through large distributors. There are different channels to reach that. But ultimately, the salesperson requires what I call 4 C's. Okay. One, he needs to be connected to the organization at an emotional level, at not just an employee. He needs to feel he's part of the large organization. The second aspect is that he needs to have capability to deliver. So one is connect, one is capability. The third aspect is that he needs to celebrate what he is doing well. So that's the third C. And the fourth C, I would say that, and this is extremely important both from an organization point and from a customer point, he needs to have an opportunity to co-create the solution. So can the organization infrastructure help him do that? So that's the objective, with which we are driving the sales organization. And I'm sure others are also doing it in their own way. But essentially, it is this. Can we help the person feel empowered, feel enabled to deliver a solution that n is equal to 1 customer needs?
Right.
Have organizations reached that level? Obviously, some organizations have, some are in the journey, but that will be the direction of what we will do to the sales organization. What are the challenges? The challenges in India is what, from a talent point, the essential challenge is of a matching problem. Okay, there is availability of talent in India. The corporates require talent, but the matching needs to happen. Okay. So it's not that talent is not there. Talent is there, capability is there. But we need to reach across to a talent to identify the right person from a capability point, from a culture point, and get him or her into the organization. So one challenge is, of course, what I call the matching problem. And that's what I think a lot of HR departments need to look at. What are their processes and systems to get to the right talent? The second challenge at an operational level is, how do we retain the good talent? Because it's a very fungible market. So there are opportunities that are coming in, and that's the reason why in most organizations, even today, the attrition of the sales organization will be higher than the attrition of the non-sales organization.
Valid points all across, right? Yeah. And as you said, this n equal to 1 personalization, there's a lot of pressure on the sales organization to achieve this. And I want to come to Abhijit on this point, right? Because whenever there's a conversation of sales training, it's always a by the book, pray and spray kind of approach, where there's a lot of standardization required. Personalization is hardly the talk of it. How do you see the future of sales enablement from this respect, as both Manoj and Prashant pointed out that n equal to 1 personalization is what all organizations are looking at?
Yeah. So I think that's a very good question. So essentially, let's see from the lens of that seller, right? So he's been given too many inputs, right? From the, let's say, the L&D team who is trying to, upskill him, bring that capability inside him. From the marketing team who wants to, make him know all about the product, let's say processes, the new campaigns, so on and so forth. And then there is the line 1 manager who is trying to give him what are the day-to-day tricks that he can actually incorporate in his day-to-day life to excel into the outcomes that he's expected to do. But that poor guy, that he need to remember all the things that he's being taught from the L&D team, by the marketing team, or by the line one manager, and then process everything when he's in front of the customer, and then wow the customer, but in a more personalized way, is really a tough ask for him, right? So what we have seen essentially is to how do we simplify all of this inputs that are given to them, and with the help of technology, how do we personalize this and make it in such a handy way to him that he can use this when him or her are in front of the customer, right? So that's the future, I think, that we are moving forward towards. And today, if we talk about all those technology, right? So what essentially I'm taking help from the technology is, let's say I'm in front of a particular persona of customer, right? I just type a sentence key, how do I pitch my product as per this persona, as per this need, and I get the entire pitching about that product or my service according to the need or the persona of the customer, right? But there is another next big question is, how do I, though not standardize, personalize it, but under the periphery of what my organization or my brand or my marketing communication wants my customer to hear. So then a lot of standardization and personalization comes. That's where some technology which can be deployed at let's say large scale, which though enables the seller to personalize at the point of sale, but with a lot of periphery on what is the brand or the messaging that the company wants their customers to hear, is something the direction that we move into. So I think enabling the seller at the point of sale is something through technology that we look forward to.
Absolutely.
I think I'll just would like to add something.
Yeah.
What we are moving towards is how do we innovate at scale?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for example, the entire India stack, which sits on the Aadhaar and the UDI, I think that has actually enabled a lot of organizations, at least in the finance sector, to actually innovate at scale. I think as we move forward to a digital era, more and more organizations need to look at how can they leverage the technology stack to actually innovate at scale.
Absolutely. I think innovation at scale and as well as innovation that works at scale, both sides of the puzzle are required, right? Manoj, speaking of data, decisioning at the highest level requires data, and it's fast becoming replacing gut instinct and experience in a lot of areas, right? But when you talk about the last mile, putting data in the hands of the agents, the customer facing reps, is harder because there are a lot of blocks in place, checks and balances in place, and the data should be helping them move forward. It should be useful to them. How do you look at driving data and enablement within your organization for the sales force?
Sure. So for starters, data is not just a tool. It's a mechanism to provide insights for a decision maker. And we look at it in 3-4 broad ways. First is, have we made our workforce data literate?
Right.
So data literacy is the first core segment where we focus on training our workforce to read, interpret, analyze, and leverage the data that's made available. That's the first one. The second is making data accessible to all. And that's where, like most mature organizations, all our dashboards come in handy. At a click of a button today, a lot of our sales workforce have that data handy. Ensuring that we leverage the insights that we draw from those dashboards is a critical aspect. And as you grow up the chain, also how do you tell a story to create an impact? What complements A and B is leadership role modeling, and it starts from the top. We ensure that all our leaders, while they, from their rich experience, definitely look at data, they start role modeling using those data, that insight, in making decisions. And finally, a blend of A, B, and C, making data literate workforce, data available and access to everyone, and leadership role modeling encompasses not just the availability of data, but interpretation of that data at various levels in the organization. So when our workforce at the sales level look at the data, they have multiple insights beyond a normal workflow that helps them make decisions with a go no go.
Absolutely. And, Prashant spoke about capability building. And I want to understand what are the challenges there. You must have a massive sales force in the thousands, right? What are the challenges there in compliance to learning modules? And how do you ensure that, even the last mile is has the knowledge, is equipped with the information that they need to kind of convert the customer or have a positive interaction, right? And how do you balance both human enablement as well as tech enablement in that journey? How much of it works? 80, 20, 70, 60? What is the kind of breakup over there?
Sure. Thank you. It's a very interesting question, and some, all of us are trying to get it right. But I'll tell you some hypothesis that you're working on. Okay. You give a person a long document to read on a mobile, and you give him a TikTok reel. The chances are that he will go for a TikTok reel than a document. Yeah. So what is a learning from there is that we need to gamify our learning a lot. Yeah. You need to make it fun. You need to make it hyper interactive. So these are learnings that are there, and I think we are also moving in that direction. So we need to make it fun to learn. Remember our old textbooks, we never wanted to read it, right? Yeah. And that was because it was one direction and it was pretty boring actually. And we also go back to school to know that the depending on the energy level and the liveliness of the teacher, we actually learn those subjects well. Yeah. That applies in today's world also. We need to make learning fun. We should plan depending on the session and intensity of the particular module. We need to design for face time and screen time. Okay. So there is no one ruler that can actually measure it. We need to have different scales to measure it. So if it's very intensive, you probably would need more face time than screen time. And if it is not so technically intensive, then probably a lesser ratio would do. But you need to plan for that. Technology enables us onto things like online simulation and on things like that. There's a VR and AR that's coming in. So all these are tools that can actually help you decide the ratio. On the other side, the sales, apart from the salesperson at the front end, another very important role is played by this frontline sales manager. To the salesperson, the frontline manager is the organization. And as we are seeing a generation of young people becoming managers, it's important that we focus on managerial quality also. Right. And while a lot of training is focused on the final salesperson as it may be, there should be enough training, enough value add to the frontline manager as well. Let's not forget the person's role in this line of command. He plays a very important role, and that training also you could look at different interventions, but that might require a slightly more face time than screen time.
Prashant, just one more angle to I liked your gamification and making learning in a very fun way, but I want to add one more angle to it. What do you think? I mean, these days we have seen trends like I want to be learned when I want to be learned, not like when the organization wants me to be learned. Of course, there are some induction programs, but apart from that, let's say refresher courses or something. Let's say I need this information right then after 1 hour, half an hour, or maybe just after 2 minutes. So how do you, let's say, solve this problem that making let's say, all the necessary knowledge that he wants at his time when he or she might require to let's say refer to, it's available there, right? Is at his or her fingertips. So how do you ensure that at your organization?
So, every employee is connected to the organization apart from the rules, policies, and all. The mobile is an important medium of communication, right?
Yes.
So he could choose, saying
Okay.
that he could schedule. For example, when we watch highlights of matches, we can
Yeah.
schedule what time we want to watch the match.
Sure.
So similarly, a module could be scheduled.
Mhm.
And from an organization point, well, it's mandatory that there are certain rules. For example, if you're in a financial organization, you need to have KYC. You need to understand KYC. In our case, if you're going to the field, you need to understand the basics of a product.
Yeah.
So you should say that probably, 3 days time, you should do this. There should be a time frame for certain modules. There can be a longer time frame for certain modules. So all of that need not be loaded on day 0 or day 1 in the life of a person.
Yeah. So a follow-up question to that, what trends we have again seen with our other partners that we work with is people shifting from textbook approach to magazine approach. Means
Nice.
let's say I have a like a long video or a PDF which is essentially like a textbook, right? But what I want is like a magazine. I only want this product ka, this USP or this variant. I need the information about that. So are you solving this problem also for your sellers?
Of course.
Yeah.
We what we divide information or knowledge that he needs to have into 3 categories. One is critical, one is important, one is desirable.
Okay.
So critical is something he or she needs to have when he gets to the field. Important is something that he can take time. And desirable is something that is important for him but not necessary.
Yeah.
It's good he does it, but from our point, it is not absolutely necessary condition for him to succeed. So that's what we do. And the other enabler to learning in the field can be a strong buddy system.
Buddy system. Yeah.
Okay. So supposing and that buddy today can be a bot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whether it will be successful or not, it's a question mark, but it can technically be a bot.
Yeah.
AI driven bot can be a good buddy.
Yeah.
Who will remind you saying that please go through this lessons.
Yeah. And not judging you.
And not judging.
Yes. Yeah. I think interesting.
So I want to come to this piece, right? And I want to bring Manoj in here, that both the human and the tech enablement piece are going to work together. But what is the value that you see the human piece brings into the entire sales transformation process, as well as the tech piece? Where can it intervene and create value? What are the 2 sides that you see?
Sure. Now, the best part of being a human resource professional is you're still human at heart. You deal with emotions, and there's a lot of empathy that you bring to the table. Where we augment technology is to make that job or deliver that job faster and make it more scalable. So I'll break it into a few segments where technology and humans coexist, and how do we amplify and accelerate the sales force. So let's look at hiring. Today, most organizations have fantastic resume screening tools. What do? They help you stack rank profiles aligned to the job description. So there is an AI enabled system at the back end that's making the job faster and efficient. At the same time, a series of interview panelists or the HR professional continues to do that human round, because at the end of the day, the human plays a critical role in deciding a go, no go of the right candidate. But we leverage technology in screening profiles. Take it to the next level as an extension to talent acquisition. One of the biggest callouts that most organizations today are focusing on is culture fit to the organization, because we want to control early attrition. We want to ensure that the time and effort we invest in hiring reaps results. Many organizations conduct a lot of psychometric instruments. It gives us enough data points for us to consider. While technology will help us run the platform, the results that we generate provides additional information with curated questions to the interview panelists to consider. It helps us nullify some of the unconscious biases or filters that we may have, that we can seek clarification through those probing questions. That's number 2. Third, if you scale it up to once the person is in the organization, the entire onboarding experience. And that's a critical piece for the sales workforce. They all are deployed in a pan-India setup. Not everyone may have the luxury to come to a headquarters or a regional headquarters within the first 30 days. But there is a host of information about the organization, the job to do, orientation about the products that one needs to acquire. That's where technology plays a very critical role. It could be through a mobile handheld device, it could be curated learning solutions. The format could vary, but ensuring that leveraging technology makes it faster. And finally, if you move to once the employee has settled in the organization, obviously they want to grow, they want to take role changes. How do they grow through mobility in the organization? So there are many instruments today in the market, AI powered, where you can declare your current roles, enter your aspirational roles, and there are systems that will help you make a recommendation on the kind of skill set one needs to acquire, the set of diverse experiences one needs to acquire. So a blend of technology exists at every touch point of the human experience, and that's what fuels the sales engine.
Fascinating, right? In the coming years, do you see your entire sales onboarding cycle? You would bring in a salesperson, there would be a training for a certain period. Do you see that coming down, going up, becoming more of a continuous process during the life cycle of the person? How do you see that entire piece? So, Prashant, coming to you, when a company onboards a new sales management trainee, so to say, right, there is an induction period of a year, 3 months, however it goes. With technology, do you see that induction period coming down over time, as well as managing the sales person over the life cycle becoming sharper through technology?
Yeah. So there are two aspects to this. With technology, the training time will reduce, but the frequency of training will increase because there's a frequent need for relearning and unlearning. Because that's the way society is changing. The needs are changing faster, so they'll be relearning and unlearning faster. Frequency will increase. The other aspect that I want to bring in here is the career aspirations of people are increasing, and rightly so. They want to grow faster. So when they need to grow faster as an organization, we need to create the platform for them to grow faster. So we need to prepare them for career growth. So, overall, if you look at it, the number of training hours per person may not change much, but the content of that will change, and the frequency and the design of that will change in terms of how the content is even delivered. Yeah. So that will change.
Yeah, I think again an interesting element that you touched upon is the content, because right now we are talking more about, let's say, whether it be physical trainings given or the technology taking over. But even if technology taking over, there's a huge dependency on the kind of content, right, or the gamification that you had earlier mentioned, Prashant. So how do you see that with the help of technology also we are able to get those desired content which can then result into the desired outcomes that we foresee?
So you see, training, essentially, if I break it down, what is the elements of training? One is the content, one is the delivery, and third would be the facilitator. If I'm just adding one element to it, and the reason I'll tell you why I'm adding it. Because the facilitator is a person not just who is actually a trainer per se, but who enables the content to be put into action. Yeah. That's how it define the facilitator. The advantage of technology in designing content is that, one, there's a network effect that comes in play, which means that anywhere in the ecosystem, any changes that are taking place, technology can actually bring it up to speed. Yeah. Which is, from a human point, it's impossible. Yeah. Okay. So the network effect of technology enables design of high quality content. Okay. Delivery is something that we need to customize, and that's where the human plays a very important role in the design of the delivery.
Yeah.
Okay. And the facilitating part is also a human emotion-led process rather than a tech-led process. So if we can combine this, I think the tech and the touch, I think the result will be fantastic.
Understood.
So I think that's a very interesting vein that you touched upon, that the delivery, the mode of delivery has to be customized in all cases, and that's where the human touch really plays an important role. But now we'll come into the important segment, which is about how AI is actually impacting this entire piece. So Abhijit, we'll begin with you, right?
Yeah.
Whenever there's any conversation with AI, it is about replacing the workforce or in kind of going after those low-lying jobs, right?
Yeah.
How do you see the role of AI, especially in sales enablement, in the coming years?
Sure. So maybe before just coming years, I will also like to talk about how our different partners are using AI and how we are enabling them, right?
Absolutely.
So for me and for as an organization, we always believe that it will complement the existing human-led processes and make it bias-free, right? And third, we can deploy it at scale. So for example, let's say all the different kind of trainings or learning interventions that are being done, traditionally human, let's say led interventions or human plus tech intervention. So there, the AI can be a fantastic tool in terms of like a pre and a post kind of assessment, right? And that's how many of our partners are using that pre those kind of intervention. What was the kind of level of that particular participant versus post those kind of interventions? What is the delta change? And that the AI can, forecast that, the AI can, measure that what's the kind of delta change. Second, it also gives a very let's say bias free environment for the participants as well to have those kind of sessions or interaction with the AI where they can let's say practice a lot of real world conversations or real world challenges, right? And it's not the other person who is in front of you, but the AI which acts like a customer or a prospect, and then I get a lot of confidence, right? I practice again and again with the AI. So that helps a lot of our partners in terms of giving those confidence specifically to the new participants who are just joined the organization, have that fear of engagement on the field. And finally, I think AI, how it we see helping is, see, there are a lot of data that is available, like I mentioned, right? A lot of data is given to the salesperson, or let's say that let's say the user on the ground, right? So the AI can really help them to collate all those data, translate into some meaningful information that he or she can use this at the at the point of sale to impress the customer. So those collation of data and then presenting into meaningful things that can wow the customer in less than 30-45 seconds, that's hardly the time span that we see the sellers get in front of the customer, is what we see the role of AI going to be.
As we spoke about AI, how do you see the impact of AI on your industry, especially regarding the piece you spoke about, hiring the right talent who fit the culture of your organization and screening through thousands of applications? How can AI enable that entire journey?
Sure. We have multiple use cases in the banking industry when it comes to AI. But to begin with, I'll talk about how AI helps us think. And I start with this always: train the brain that trains AI. It starts with a hard realization that AI is here to only complement and not necessarily do away with what humans can do. Right. Having said that, in the banking sector, take it talent acquisition, screening profiles, we spoke about that, brings in more efficiency to scale. Look at any of our credit evaluation roles. Look at any of our career development avenues, summarizing career conversations that we have with employees. Look at as simple as what everybody talks about. The most popular use case is summarizing the minutes of a meeting. Okay. The avenues are numerous. What AI does is ensuring that we put that data to use, But what's critical is you create that central universe. Today, there are a few banks which are marching towards creating their own central universe equivalent to a public GPT, chat GPT. You create that universe for yourself, and at a click of a button, you can ask a host of questions. Complementing to the point that was discussed about learning, just in time, just for me.
Right.
You can ask any question. It could be a product related question when I'm just about to enter the point of sale. It could be a reinforcement on how do I engage an irritated customer. It could be how can I summarize why this credit pitch is critical to make that sale. The formats may vary, but the minute we are aware that we have a data set through the AI power, and we know to ask those right questions. And that's why I said you need to keep training the brain that trains AI. The number of times we are feeding in the formats, the number of utterances with which we ask questions, that's how we are strengthening the AI for future generations.
Fantastic.
Manoj,
Fantastic.
if I may ask.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So Manoj, also, let's say one of the use case that we foresee is, let's say you have multiple people across multiple hierarchies in the sales role, right? And even in the sales role, in the same hierarchy, there are multiple sets of people selling different products, different channels, so on and so forth in the banking context. So how do you see that the AI, taking the front seat and curating different kind of, let's say, personalized learning experiences that matches to different, let me call it like a learning life cycles of different cohorts of people? Do you see any merit in that, in this thought, or have you seen any kind of such implementations in the banking sector?
Sure. Having read a few use cases, I can tell you for certainty. One, there is a lot of adaptive learning that happens.
Yeah.
It starts with a few inquisitive questions that one responds to as a learner.
Yeah.
And bases your adaptive responses, the system is automatically assessing what you need to learn and what's the gap to learn.
Yeah.
And that's where employees at diverse levels of the workforce know what additional skills that they need to build.
Yeah.
If you ask me, is AI able to fuel that? I think we are just at the tip of the surface.
Yes.
For starters, I think organizations first need to clean up their ecosystem.
Yeah.
Today, if you look at each organization, on an average, Brandon Hall study shows that there are at least 7 to 8 different learning formats, learning platforms that exist. So it's a problem of plenty.
Yeah.
One, the HR team which has purchased is wondering, how do I integrate? There is always a huge integration cost.
Yeah.
We say touch, no touch, no touch, and we never make that investment.
Yeah.
Second, the learner is confused. Should I go to A, C, or E every time I want to learn? Of course, few years back, the entire LXP wave came into place. It served its purpose,
Yeah.
but there's a journey to go there. But to ensure that the learner is at the core, at the center of what you're trying to do in the universe, or an employee, there are 3 shifts that organizations may need to consider. One, do not reinforce learning beyond what is required.
Yeah.
There is a mandatory course because there's a job to be done in the rightful manner. Is it required? Yes. Do I need the product skills for me to do that point of sale? Absolutely yes, because I need to do it first time right. Anything which is developmental or the use case that I just mentioned, the adaptive assessment should tell me my cognitive gaps, but it should also give me the discretion to pick up only if I really want to develop.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where the just in time, just for me comes in.
Yeah.
When we are able to integrate all those systems. That's one. Second, it's about content.
Yeah.
There's a lot of content. Today, there is, I can tell you with at least 51% certainty, there's more data in YouTube than any of the learning portals that everybody is trying to sell in the market.
Yeah.
So from where do I curate? The learner is eternally confused. Should I use a freeware on a YouTube? Should I use a paid subscription from any of the other portals? Or should I wait for the learning team of my organization to build something exclusively for me? The formats could vary, but at the point when I need it the most, who's going to solve it for me? Because I'm just 3 feet away to make that next point of sale.
Yeah.
So I think being more aware of where we make the investment, integrating technology, and keeping the employee at the center will help integrate all the elements in learning.
Interesting.
No, absolutely. In your industry, still a lot of calling the customer over a phone or reaching out to them digitally happens. But coming to you, Prashant, right? There's a significant feet on street in your industry, and
Yes.
there's no threat of AI really replacing those feet on street. But when you look at the sales enablement seller transformation journey, do you think AI will have an impact in your industry in the coming years?
It's not about jobs. Nobody is talking about AI. Actually, if you look at it, nobody is really talking about AI replacing jobs completely.
Right.
But AI could replace, for sure, part of the jobs. Now, depending on the role and what the job a person does, that could be 20%, that could be 80%, that could be 50%. And what we need to do, and going forward, this will become an important task for HR people, is for every role, we would need to assess what's the real value add that a person does, and
Right.
what is the greater value add that an AI can do, replacing some part of the non-valued activities that a person does. For example, let's take a very simple example of a salesman going from, say, Dadar to, say, Malad. He goes for a sales call, but the amount of documentation or amount of inputting that he has to do in a portal for logging in his sales or getting his reimbursements, there's actually, if you look at it, it's completely non-value adding activity.
Right.
Now that part will go. AI can easily take it away. Okay. Even the pitch that he prepares, it could be customized. AI has great ability, much more than human beings, in predictability, speed, and customization. So if I'm meeting XYZ, a distributor, for example, I could get all the data, and AI, a good, decent generative part, AI could actually summarize that into 3-4 bullet points, saying that this is what this guy is looking for, and this is his projection of sales for the next few months. That makes it easy. That makes it, we don't have to give him 20 Excel sheets. That's the power of AI. And I think sooner rather than later, we will realize which jobs 20% will be replaced, 50% will be replaced, and jobs which 80% will be replaced. Obviously, there will be questions on whether the job should exist in that form or should it change.
Fantastic. I think we'll conclude this conversation here, but I'd like to ask you one final question, maybe lighten the weight of our conversation. In your years of interacting with people, leading an organization, what is the most surprising thing that you found about people, especially in their interactions with technology, with other people, that has really kind of caught your, surprises you even today, perhaps, so to say?
The most difficult question.
We'll edit the long pause in post.
Yes, you'll have to ask that question differently again.
Differently again.
Yes.
Maybe some light question on one surprising.
So I'll tell you, nothing should surprise you. That is my thing. Be ready for things that you think would not happen, and that is going to happen.
Interesting.
Because that's about human. That's what makes dealing with humans so interesting, right?
Right.
That's the other thing which, for me, you call it surprise, or you could call it that. We are very good in this, for example, creating organization structure, job description, and all this.
Right.
Systems, processes are required to run the organization. But in human beings, it's very difficult to box them into the chart.
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
moment you try to box them into a chart, and that's where the challenge comes. And the third realization I had in HR is that you create systems and processes for people who do not follow those systems and processes.
Yeah.
That will be 5%. You subject the 95% of the people to those very systems and processes.
Right.
So I don't know whether it's a surprise or really learning.
Absolutely.
So, what surprised me the most with or without technology is the psychological safety that one provides. Take the Gen AI or the entire AI wave we all are going through.
Yeah.
There is a segment of workforce who's excited saying, hey, I can ask any question and here is a device or bot which can answer. There is a segment of workforce who is second guessing, what if it's reading more about my personality?
Right.
There is a third set of workforce who's wondering, I don't even know what to ask.
Yeah.
If the unique identifier of all three is still just a keyboard to punch in those 3-4 questions or create a sentence, be it a human interaction or be it a human interaction with a AI powered device, the foundation is that psychological safety. How much can I be my original self? Doesn't matter when I'm talking to you at a human level or a bot in front of me. Will it hear me and respond to me unfiltered, where I can be my real self? Or is it forming a layer of analysis about me the more questions I respond, and keeping that as a personality folder, if, for a lack of a better word, if I may say?
Right.
So, what continues to surprise me is the psychological safety that one provides. It amazes me the kind of results it has on one's own performance and innovation. The second, if you complement, it also comes to trust. At a human level, of course, we need multiple evidences to trust. And it's not just one big event, but multiple micro moments. And the same if you translate into AI. I might ask a bot the first question, a simple one, to see if it's eliciting the right response. I will probe further 1, 2, 3 layers. And suddenly I may realize, am I asking too many questions, disclosing myself, and how much do I trust beyond the keyboard and the enter that I'm going to punch? So what continues to amaze me, be it human interactions, managing large teams, or leveraging AI, is what's the psychological safety that we are able to create, and how comfortable are you with that change? And hence I always summarize saying change is progressive, and with that change comes a cost.
Right.
That's where I leave it.
Fascinating, right? How we might question the motives of the output that AI gives us is going to be very interesting. Abhijit, do you want to share some words?
Yeah, I think similar lines to what Manoj was telling, because in our daily practice, what we do is we try to shadow a lot of the sellers whom actually we help them to excel in their respective roles, and we had a lot of hypotheses why they are a bit hesitant in let's say using these technological tools, be it
Right.
AI, be it some kind of automation in their day-to-day work work automation, workforce, etc. So what we have seen is it's all about the crossing the hurdle for the first time, right? It's always about the first, I'm able to cross the first hurdle, the first threshold, right? And if they use the technology for the first time and they find it useful for them, that it is more for you rather than for the processes or for the organization per se in their mind, right? So then it's again, it's like a habit for them, it's useful for them. So it's, I think we drive towards making them comfortable of using it for the first time, and when they experience it and see it, it's for them for a larger good. I think then they start using it and we see great adoption, great uses, and those are some of the successes that we have seen across different partners. Yeah.
So the one I just like to add, I just thought of one surprise, is that we don't have to worry about adaptation. people use technology. Nobody taught us how to use Zoom.
Yeah.
Nobody taught us how to use Amazon, right? WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So make a technology user friendly.
Yeah.
Design the UX UI in such a way that people will love to use it, and they will
Yeah.
use it. You don't need training for that. That's
Fantastic.
the power of technology.
So it took a thing, but all of three of you have come out with fantastic responses. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. It was wonderful engaging you. People, process, and now technology has become part of all organizations. And it's lovely to understand the interplay between human and tech and learn from all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.